Purdue Boilermakers will close out the 2024 season on Saturday night, taking on the Indiana Hoosiers for the Old Oaken Bucket. The Boilermakers have won 3 straight in the matchup against IU, looking to finish the season on a positive note and extend their record in the Old Oaken Bucket matchup. Purdue has won the bucket 63 times, lost 32 with 3 ties since they started playing for that piece of wood back in 1925. Overall, Purdue leads the series with IU 77-42 with 6 ties. The Old Oaken Bucket came on a farm from the Bruner family that was down between Kent and Hanover in southern Indiana. It was an idea between the Chicago Club of Indiana, the Chicago Club of Purdue. They decided to have a traveling trophy, and so they put a couple of guys down in southern Indiana to find a bucket, and by golly, they did. And that's what we play for every year. Right now, the Boilermakers have it in their trophy case, and it is certainly the intention of Purdue to keep it here in West Lafayette for another year. We've got plenty to talk about tonight on the show. We've got head coach Ryan Walters will be joining us a little bit later on. Also, defensive coordinator Kevin Kane and offensive analyst Jason Simmons will be joining the show as well. So plenty to talk about in a big game coming up. The Boilermakers and the Hoosiers coming up this Saturday night, 7 o'clock. We'll have the pregame show starting at 6 o'clock. And when we come back, we'll have more on Purdue Football Live, presented by Purdue Federal Credit Union on the Purdue Global Sports Network from Learfield.
Second down and goal. A little pitch. Maccabee race to the pylon. He's in.
They're going to have little jet sweep, settle that, and pitch it out to Maccabee.
With a minute gone in the fourth. Bard pulls it out for Clare. He looks for the end zone. He's got the end zone.
Watch the little slider by 86 Clare.
Welcome back to Purdue Football Live, usually coming to you from Walk-Ons in the Purdue Memorial Union, where there's validated parking and kids eat for free on Tuesdays. We'll be back at Walk-Ons with the Purdue Basketball Live show coming up next Monday night. The 2024 Purdue football season is presented by Purdue Global. Earn a degree you'll be proud of with Purdue Global, Purdue's online university for working adults and the preferred online university degree provider of the Guild and Team USA Learning Network. Start your comeback today at purdueglobal.edu. Pleased to be joined by offensive analyst Jason Simmons. And Jason, you had to be proud, I think, last week of the comeback in the second half. I was talking with Mark Herman in that game at halftime, and it seemed like you had a lot of points that were left on the field in that first half, and we thought maybe it would be a little bit like the game against Illinois, and it turned out that way, where you got your offense going in the second half.
Yeah, when you look at that first half, we had those 2 drives. One ended with a field goal, the other ended with a field goal attempt, and for us it was about finding the right play down there. And the next 2 drives down there, we were able to maximize our opportunities and score touchdowns, and that obviously got us back in the game. And then we had 3 possessions in the fourth quarter, down 7, and just couldn't convert them, and that's a tough one to swallow.
Frustrating too. You had a play, of course, in front of the sideline that maybe could have tied the football game up, but you had the opportunities. What do you think was the difference? What changed in that second half that allowed you to have more success?
I think for us, when you look at our players, it really starts with those guys. We went in at halftime, and their level of conviction was really high. They knew they didn't play their best football. They knew we didn't capitalize down there in the red area, in the low red, by converting touchdowns, and so when you have guys like that are still fighting and scrapping, it's really easy as a coach to rally up behind them and do everything you can. And then the adjustments we made as an offensive staff at halftime for us, we made a commitment to throwing the football, and we knew the conditions weren't ideal, but I think again it speaks to Hudson Card, it speaks to our tight ends, our wide receivers, and our running backs to be able to throw the football in those conditions. And what our offensive line did in the second half, we felt like we didn't sustain blocks well enough to get the run game going in the first half, but their ability to pass protect and to take on the siege, that was the pressure we got from Michigan State, I think really speaks to that veteran group. And so it really was a collective effort in the second half getting that thing going.
You mentioned the weather conditions weren't the greatest, but it didn't look like it affected the passing game all that much, and I was a little surprised that Hudson was able to throw the ball as well as he did.
It speaks to his talent, right? And then we obviously had 3 critical drops in the fourth quarter, but there were also a lot of contested catch plays that our guys made, and so it's easy to focus on the 3 drops, but our guys made some really tough contested catches in the fourth quarter there too to help us move the football. We got the Max Clare touchdown early in the fourth, and I think it just speaks to the perseverance this group has. The season's certainly not going the way we expected it to, and yet our guys are showing up day in and day out and putting in great work.
Well, there's one chance, Jason, to kind of turn this around and write a different chapter for the end of the season. As a guy who's been a football coach in the state of Indiana a long time, what's the old Oaken Bucket rivalry mean to you?
Well, it means a great deal. I spent 23 years coaching high school football here in the state of Indiana, and this was always a game that you paid attention to, and it's always the same weekend as the IHSAA state finals, and so you're watching the state finals, you're watching the old Oaken Bucket, and never have it. This is my first experience with it, and so I'm certainly looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to preparing for it all week and to representing Purdue down in Bloomington and doing everything we can to keep the bucket in West Lafayette.
Looks like we're going to have another really chilly night in Bloomington, maybe a little colder even than last week in East Lansing. Does that change at all what you can or what you want to do on Saturday?
It really doesn't. It really doesn't. We had a brief conversation about the weather, earlier when we were in game planning meetings, and we're going to go do what we have to do to find a way to win this thing. And I think it's going to be cold, but I don't think the cold's going to have a huge impact on our game plan.
One of the things we saw on Saturday, last Friday night against Michigan State was the ability of your guys. You mentioned Jamal Edrin had a spectacular catch on the right sideline, and Jerron Tibbs wins a 50-50 ball on a 3rd and 22 that really keeps you in the ball game. Those guys have the ability to make plays. It's just making it happen every Saturday.
It's just being consistent, play in and play out. That it's that championship level focus, play in and play out. And those 2 guys you just mentioned have been really good for us all year. They're going to continue to be good for us. We're looking forward to what the show that they can put on Saturday. And it's the same thing we talked about. You can focus on the drops, or you can focus on what they're capable of doing. And for us as a coaching staff, we have to focus on what they can do and get these guys ready to go on Saturday.
Both in the high school and the collegiate ranks, you've been involved in rivalry games. What's different in a rivalry game?
Well, I think so much of it is just the pride that emanates from really your fan base. You look at Purdue, and we certainly didn't have the season we wanted to have, but we also had 60,000 people. Our attendance was just under 60,000 people, and that speaks to the support that we have from our fan base, from the alumni group, from the community, and we have an opportunity to represent those guys on Saturday, and we need to take as much pride in putting the P on Saturday as we possibly can, and do everything we can for that 60-minute shot on Saturday to keep the bucket here.
Well, Jason, I know Boilermaker fans want to see that old Oaken Bucket stay in West Lafayette. Good luck this Saturday, and let's put some points on the board early. How about that?
No question. I appreciate you guys.
All right, we'll have defensive coordinator Kevin Kane when we come back. This is Purdue Football Live, presented by Purdue Federal Credit Union on the Purdue Global Sports Network from Learfield.
Back in that spot is the free safety on a first down. Charles, the Michigan State offense. Play fake, he pumps. He's running away from pressure, and he flings it forward, but Bibber's got nowhere to go.
Deep. They had their guys covered. They zoned them out. They win the rep, just dirty. Physical. 6'6", 265. We watched him in pregame. He's a good-looking dude. Not looking for that. Twist game.
Twist game almost got there. Athleticism of Childs survived it at first, and Jenkins rams him down.
Purdue Football Live is presented by Purdue Federal Credit Union, the official credit union for Purdue fans. Joined in this segment by defensive coordinator Kevin Kane. And Kevin, boy, things turned around in the second half of that game on Friday night. 24 points in the first half, but your defense held them under 75 yards in the second without a point. What changed for you?
I think it was a tale of 2 halves for us. So I thought, in the first half, especially still, like we were doing well on early downs, first and second down, and getting to third downs, and it was a third down conversions that got us in the first half. I look at the first drive, we had them at I think it was a 3rd and 9, and they completed a pass right at the sticks. Then we had them at 3rd and 4, had a tackle for loss, missed a tackle that kind of kept the drive going. Next thing you know, there's 7 points on the board, right? And we had them 3rd down again, and had an interception. That guy had a penalty that called us back, and it led to another touchdown on 3rd down, right? So that was the key, right? And then we put a huge emphasis on at halftime. And all of a sudden, boom, we do a great job on early downs again in the second half, and then all of a sudden, 3rd downs, we're off the field. It's amazing how that happens. And So that was the biggest difference. It was getting off the field on third downs that really led to us to have success on the second half.
And the numbers really back that up. I think they hit 6 of their first 7 in the first half, and then they went 0 for the last 5 or 0 for the last 6 on third downs.
Yeah.
And really getting the defense off the field, getting the offense a chance, because you had the feeling the offense was going to score some points on Friday night.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. You said I'm up in the box, so you kind of see them moving the football, and it was just a matter of time, when it was going to happen, because they were moving the ball, having success, and Walt's a smart guy, so he's going to figure it out, So if we just get the offense the ball back, we had a chance to get this thing going. And I told the guys at halftime, we've been in this situation before when we played Illinois, and there's no reason why we can't do it again. And sure enough, the guys came out and fought.
I have to admit, Kevin, on the interception by Dylan Thieneman, I thought that the penalty that they called was for an illegal block because the flag came so late. When you guys took a look, and I don't want to get you in trouble with the Big Ten, what did you see on that play?
Well, I thought the same thing. I thought, oh gosh, we held or something after the interception. But they said our guy had a hand on somebody, which it's football, and whatever.
Well, you can't
change it now.
Yep,
so
it's too late now.
I can disagree all I want.
That's right.
But at the end of the day, the flag was thrown, and is what it is.
All right. Before we started talking today, we were talking off the air about the fact that there's always another game, and there's a big game coming up on Saturday. When you play a rivalry game like this, what's different? You've been in them before. You've coached in them before. What's different in a rivalry game?
It doesn't matter. Nothing matters, right? So it doesn't matter what the record is. It doesn't matter how you've been playing. It doesn't matter what you've done in the past. It's just this is a different deal, right? So when I was a player, I played at the University of Kansas, and Kansas, Missouri was a huge. It went back to the Civil War, as far as what the border war is what they called it. So, being a part of these rivalries and such, where I think this game's been played since 1891, I think is what I saw yesterday. So, this is a great tradition in college football, right? The rivalries and everything that goes with it, and this is, since living in this state. This is a very, very – people are very proud to either wear the black and gold, right, or the other colors, So it's a lot of fun to be a part of these types of games. And like I said, nothing really matters in this game, right? So just whoever can go out there and execute and win and have fun is going to be remembered for it.
Let's talk a little bit about that Indiana offense you'll be playing. A lot of transfers on that side of the ball. Curtis Rourke, the quarterback, has really been a big trigger for them. What do they do well offensively?
They're very efficient. Just getting to watch them in the last 48 hours, they want to stay ahead of the sticks. They want to keep the ball. They're very different in the sense of a lot of offenses in college football today want to score fast and put a lot of points on the board, where these guys are more than comfortable, I think, going 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 plays for a drive and then scoring on a touchdown, right? So they want to stay on track. They want to have success on first down, get it to second down, and then get it to 3rd and 1, and then run it for 3rd and 1, right? And I think that's what this quarterback has done a great job. He's been a great manager of the system, what they want to do.
We've been talking to Coach Walters throughout the season about the youth on this football team, and you've got a lot of true freshmen and redshirt freshmen playing prominent roles in the defense. How have they gone and progressed as the season has come along?
It's a great point. We've had a lot of young people, and not just youth, right? It's a lot of just inexperienced college football players, whether it's a transfer that came in that didn't play a lot at the last spot he was at, that are all of a sudden is thrusted into a lot of playing time, that this is really their first year of playing college football as well, so but I've been extremely happy with some of these youth guys. It's hard to think that Dylan Thieneman is really 2 years removed from high school. Will Helt is 2 years removed from high school, and those are some of our best players, right? Smiley Bradford has come on strong as a true freshman coming in there playing, right? And Hudson Miller is a guy that's kind of came on late here and is a redshirt sophomore that's really seen his first time playing football, right? So the roster is ever changing and always will be in the modern era. And, these guys are going to be thrusted in situations where they're going to have to adapt, right? But there is a lot of youth on this football team, that's for sure. And you have to be able to get them to play fast. And how do you do that every week? That's the challenge, right? Is how can we get these guys to play as fast as possible and cut out the thinking as much as you can and just let them play. But I've been extremely proud of these young guys going in there and competing.
Well, they showed a lot of fight last Friday night. I have no doubt they'll do the same on Saturday. The good news for the two of us, we're behind glass.
That's right.
On Saturday night. I know it's going to be cold. But
is that what they're saying? No.
We're going to be very cold.
70 and sunny up in the
We
box.
will be very warm where we are.
Yeah,
How about
that's right.
that?
That's
All
right.
Kevin, thanks for stopping by.
Yeah, appreciate it. Yeah, boiler up.
All right, Ryan Walters will join us next. This is Purdue Football Live, presented by Purdue Federal Credit Union on the Purdue Global Sports Network from Learfield.
Having one of those tonight. Closing in on 70 yards. And the pressure gets to Childs.
Nyland Green coming out of space here, off the edge, doing just as much as they can on the backside cutoff from Pericek. That's a tough assignment coming across against the guy who's a lot faster than you.
Purdue Athletics would like to thank and recognize members of the Black and Gold Club who support Purdue Athletics with their sponsorship at the highest level. Black and Gold Club members include Indiana Packers, Molson Coors, Purdue Federal Credit Union, Purdue Global, State Farm Insurance, Toyota, and Wabash. Each are great partners of Purdue Athletics. Joined on Purdue Football Live by Ryan Walters. And Ryan, a disappointing outcome on Friday night, but really a solid comeback in the second half. I was talking with Mark Herman at halftime, and it felt to me like the Illinois game, where there was more out there to have. If you could just get some stops and get some points on the board, you could make it a game, and you did just that.
Yeah, like you said, a tale of two halves. Felt like we got off to a good start offensively, driving it down the field. Obviously would have loved to get in the end zone, but at least came away with some points. And then, the second and third drive is really what killed us in the first half. Went 3 and out that second drive, and then, got a first down on the first play of the third drive, and then obviously had the fumble in the red area, and that'll kill you, putting you behind the 8 ball. And then I thought defensively they made some good halftime adjustments and got stops in the second half. And then, we were able to get off to a good start offensively, and then, just had some missed opportunities, from an execution standpoint offensively that couldn't get us, to tie the game or eventually get ahead. So just comes down to execution and making routine plays and getting off to faster starts.
Talked to Kevin Kane in the last segment, and one of the things he mentioned defensively in the second half that was different, third downs. I mean, you got him in third downs in that first half, but they were 6 of 7. I don't think they converted a third down in the seced half.
Right. That was part of the halftime adjustment is what type of coverages we were playing, and obviously it helped on first and second down as well, just having it third and longer as opposed to third and short. So I thought those guys did a good job that second half.
The weather conditions, we knew they were going to be cold, a little bit windy, a little bit wet. I thought your team adapted to those pretty well. It didn't seem to be a big factor in the game.
No, it wasn't at all. We practiced that week at night and to try to get acclimated to what the atmosphere and the field was going to be like. Definitely helped on, I think it was Wednesday. Yeah, Wednesday it started raining and snowing on us at practice. So, cold, windy, rainy, we were ready for it.
Going to have a little bit more of that, I think, on this Saturday. It's going to be a little colder. Might be dry, but it's going to be a little bit colder. Everybody's going to talk, and now Jamal Edgerman feels terrible about the play that he didn't make, but I want to talk about the play he did make, because usually when you see this spectacular one-handed catches, they're with the outside arm. So he's running down the right sideline. You would expect it with the right arm.
Right.
He caught that ball with his left hand. How did he do that?
Great concentration. He's a talented individual, like you said. He is still sick about the 75-yarder that could have been, but he's got to bounce back, and he will. And we got an opportunity to do something special on Saturday.
I thought Jerron Tibbs made another big play for you in that 3rd and 22, and Hudson Card, to his credit, gave him an opportunity to make the play, came back to the football. You don't convert a lot of 3rd and 22s. That was a huge play in the game.
That was super huge. We were able to get in the end zone after that, and it energized the sideline and gave us some momentum.
We haven't talked a whole lot about the offensive line this year, but Gus Hartwig and Marcus Bowe in particular, I think, are having pretty solid season. It's hard for us. We don't grade film like the coaches do, but talk about the play of your offensive line.
Yeah, those guys, obviously it was hard to run the ball on Friday night. They just, with what they were doing on defense, you could tell that was the game plan. Like, we're going to make them have to throw the ball. But I thought they did a good job in pass protection. They really have all year. Those guys always grade out at a high level, and Bo is as athletic a offensive tackle that I've seen from a coaching standpoint and from a eval standpoint when you're watching opponents. Like, he is a really talented individual.
The one area on a football team that you like to have the most cohesion is usually that offensive line, and we knock on wood as we say this. Those guys have stayed pretty healthy this year. Been able to stay basically with the same 5 guys all season.
Yeah, which is hard to do. Obviously, you look back to a year ago, it was like the musical chairs, with the offensive line, and so having that cohesion has definitely helped with our efficiency of playing and being on the same page up front.
Now, on the other side, on the defensive line side, you've had some injuries and you've had to shuffle guys, and we talked again with Kevin in the last segment. A lot of true freshmen, a lot of redshirt freshmen getting some playing time, both up front and in the back end.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, we do have a young team, not so much on the offensive line, but everywhere else, like, we're pretty young, you know, and so those guys are getting valuable experience and learning a lot of lessons against, you know, the best of the best in the country. And so, you know, they'll be better for it, and, you know, they'll have a lot of potential and will be good in the future.
I know this team has bounced back after some disappointments early in the year, early on after that loss on Friday night with one big game coming up. What's the attitude right now that you've seen so far?
You know, obviously disappointed, but also they can point to, you know, where they had success and why they had success. You know, you got a trophy game on the line. It's the last game of the year against a ranked opponent, an in-state rival, on a Saturday night. Like, what more could you ask for? You know what I mean? And this will be a good opportunity to go out with a bang. And you know, we got, what is it, like 5 days now from, you know, to have where we're all together, right. Players, coaches alike. Like, you know, Sunday, like, that room's going to look a lot different. Yeah. And so. Just soaking up the moment, having fun with the week, and going out and having fun Saturday night. All
right, we'll have more with Coach Walters when we come back. It is Purdue Football Live, presented by Purdue Federal Credit Union on the Purdue Global Sports Network from Learfield.
Want to also mention the USC Trojans have only lost one time ever in the state of Indiana. They are 6-0 versus the Purdue Boilermakers. The Boilers are seeking their first victory over the Trojans all time, 23-19. Badenhorst stopped at the net from who else? Raven Colvin. Bakers see set point in set number 3 and match point.
It's time for the Pro Boilers feature, where we look at how former Purdue student athletes are doing in their professional sports careers. Pro Boilers is presented by Indiana Kitchen Premium Pork Products. Get to know us at IndianaKitchen.com. Both our Pro Boilers and Indiana Kitchen are boiler made. George Karloftis had a couple of tackles in Kansas City's overtime win over Carolina on Sunday. Tyrone Tracy for the New York Giants, 9 carries and 42 yards. Giants lost to Tampa Bay. And Aiden O'Connell comes off injured reserve this week, and it's a good thing for him because Gardner Minshew is out for the season now with a broken collarbone. So if Aiden's ready to play, he may be the starting quarterback this week against Kansas City. Boilermakers will be in Bloomington on Saturday to take on the Indiana Hoosiers. Between now and then, you got Thanksgiving coming up. Back in the Walters household in the day, what was on the Thanksgiving Day table? Food-wise, what was the feast like?
Yeah, everything you can imagine, you know, dressing, mashed potatoes, mac and cheese, obviously turkey, collard greens. You know, they made their own cranberry sauce. I'm not a big fan, but the rest of them are. I'm also not a big turkey guy, so they always made a prime rib too.
Really?
I'd much rather have a prime rib than turkey. And then Mom's sweet potato pie and Grandma's pecan pie.
Was football a big part of your family tradition, either watching or playing on Thanksgiving Day?
Yeah, absolutely. Usually we watched it. You know, Colorado gets pretty cold at this time of year, so you have to bundle up to go play. But then obviously, you know, playing in college, we were Colorado-Nebraska rivalry game that was always on a Friday. And so, you know, we'd be able to go home on Thursday, have Thanksgiving meals, and then hit the hotel and then play Friday.
Well, let's talk about the schedule then this week. You have practice early in the week. What's the schedule throughout the week? And again, we're talking to people on Wednesday. We're taping a little early this week, but what will the schedule be? Yeah,
so, you know, normal Monday, normal Tuesday. Class gets let out on Wednesday, so, you know, we practice in the morning. We'll bump practice back a couple hours to give some guys some time to sleep in. And then Thursday, we're just bumping everything back an hour so that, you know, local guys can get through the football portion of the day and then be able to go home and have Thanksgiving.
Your team looks pretty fresh. I mean, for a team that's playing Week 12, again, we knock on wood as we say this, not a lot of severe injuries this year. Let's say, I think probably a tribute to the strength and conditioning people. A lot of the injury prevention comes in the front side and comes in the spring and summertime.
Absolutely. I think, you know, Coach Rowe and his staff, also with AJ and the athletic training staff, have done a great job of maintenance and prevention, and then also getting guys back when they've been dinged up. Obviously you got your normal wear and tear that you have when you've played 11 games in a season, especially with the type of opponents that we've faced. But overall, generally pretty healthy, and we'll be fresh going into Saturday night.
How do you have to scale things back while getting the work you need to get in? I mean, you've got to do some hitting, but you can't do a lot of hitting at this point in the season. How do you draw that balance?
Yeah, it's more in-depth walkthroughs, different tempos at practice. You'll have a segment where we go get after it and then kind of scale it back a little bit. We haven't really taken the pads off. Thought we needed to have some more physicality and especially in our tackling, and I think that's paid off. And so guys have been doing a good job just adhering to the tempos at practice.
And we talked with Jason Simmons earlier in the show, and he talked about the fact that the way Michigan State defended you on Friday night, they really kind of dared you and made you throw the football.
Yeah.
I thought Hudson Card, especially given the conditions, put the ball on the target for most of the night, and I thought he was really good throwing the football.
Yeah, he was. He made good decisions. He's accurate with the football. I thought he pushed the ball down the field as well to give guys an opportunity to make plays. And man, if going back and watching the tape, there were still a lot of yards to be had out there.
Yeah.
So I was happy with the way he played.
The one thing also I think that you had to be pleased with, you got the ball in the end zone a couple of times in red zone situations.
Yeah.
When that field shrinks up, especially when you play against a good defense, it gets tougher and tougher to score.
Yeah, it does. They're not having to defend the field vertically. It's more horizontal now. The tighter you get into the red area. So windows are smaller, opportunities are less, and so you got to be really strategic with how you're trying to attack the defense and trying to get the ball in the end zone.
How many plays will you typically have that you can run in and let's say you've got 5 pages worth of plays for the entire field. How much does that shrink when you get inside the 20?
It shrinks and it becomes a lot more specific. Obviously you're not running 4 verts from the 10-yard line.
Right.
You know what I mean? But just different window dressing. As the defense is trying to cover the field horizontally, you're also trying to attack it horizontally and not vertically anymore as well. So, different RPOs, different window dressing to try to get guys just to hesitate a little bit. To try to out leverage them. Are all things that we were trying to do in the red area.
The other thing, too, is are you looking at more players than plays? I mean, you've got playmakers. You've got to get them the ball down close to the goal line.
Yeah, you're really throughout the entire field, you want your guys to get the majority of the touches.
Right.
So you try to scheme up your game plan to allow those guys to go make plays. And, I felt like in the plan, getting Max the ball, getting Jamal the ball, obviously tried to get Mock and Reggie the ball, but the Michigan State had other plans.
Yeah.
But I thought for the most part we were able to do that.
All right, we'll have more with the coach when we come back. It is Purdue Football Live, presented by Purdue Federal Credit Union on the Purdue Global Sports Network from Learfield.
Others look
good
to
pass.
respond.
One more. There you go.
Heidi for 3. Good. Boilers lead by 3. Boilers Heidi with 2 rebounds early on. A big 3 as Heidi with 5 straight points. Each play is different, and you got to see the intent of the clearing the space.
Oh, for sure. But now if the dude is all in your grill, you got to give a guy space.
Heidi on fire. So after 2 efficient possessions defensively for Marshall, they look to find a basket here.
They love that blue play right there. Yep.
Good defense. Camden Heidi was able to pick that one off.
Welcome back to Purdue Football Live, usually coming to you live from Walk-Ons in the Purdue Memorial Union, where there's validated parking and kids eat for free on Tuesdays. We'll be back at Walk-Ons on Monday night for Purdue Basketball Live. That one will be at 6:30 from PMU. Talking with Ryan Walters. All right, let's talk about the game coming up on Saturday. You were part of this rivalry last year. Mm-hmm. You won the Old Oaken Bucket in a game that came down to the wire. Your memories from that heading into this year's game?
Just remember the resolve the players had. I think we were down like 3 scores going into the fourth quarter or something like that, and scored early on a. Mock had a nice long one. Got some stops defensively and put the ball in the end zone. Just remember the atmosphere, the crowd, the energy, and just the joy in the locker room, and then really the reaction from the West Lafayette community. You know what I mean? It is very apparent, that how much the importance of that game. So it was fun in the locker room afterward.
Well, there's no secret that Indiana's having a great season, new head coach, a lot of new players coming in. Let's talk first offensively. What do they do well?
They execute at a high level. They got a very experienced group. Quarterback is playing, lights out. He doesn't make a whole lot of mistakes. They try to attack you with the various RPOs, and they play well up front. They play sound on the perimeter. Their running backs run hard. And they don't do things to beat themselves, and so you got to match execution with execution on that side of the ball.
Defensively, what have they done? They've put up some good numbers on that side of the ball.
Yeah, so it's the same. Very similar to what they're doing on offense. Again, a lot of experienced guys that have played a lot of ball. I think their strength is up front. Not only from a player standpoint, just in terms of the talent they have up front. But also with what they do with those guys, it's a lot of different fronts, a lot of different twist games, and they get vertical penetration. The linebackers make those guys right a lot of the times, and then in the back end they make you execute, and don't give up explosives, and so. You gotta be able to execute against this team, because if you don't, they'll take advantage of it.
Well, their kicking game too had been pretty solid until last week against Ohio State. They had a fumbled punt, and then they had a punt return taken to the house against them. You would hope again maybe special teams can give you an edge on Saturday.
Yeah, definitely all three phases got to be cohesive and in sync. To beat a top 10 team that's and Indiana's deservedly so has that title.
The good news, I guess, this week from a scheduling standpoint, you're used to playing these night road games. I know coaches like to play early. They'd like to get out there on the field. How did you pass the time before that kickoff on Friday, and how are you going to do it again this Saturday?
Well, first you get to sleep in, and sleep is hard to come by in this profession. And then, we'll get up, we'll have a brunch, take a little break, and then have a team stretch where you kind of get them up, moving around so they're not sitting stagnant. It'll be a Saturday, so they'll be able to watch some games Saturday morning. Friday nights are a little more difficult because you don't have nothing to watch on TV. And then you just kind of go through your routine once you get down to your pregame meal.
Football is a game of emotion. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of emotion on both sides. When you have a rivalry game like this, do you have to tamp them down at all, or do you want them to come out with their hair on fire?
No, you want them to come out with emotion, but it's got to be controlled, and you still got to be disciplined. Your emotion can't affect your execution, and that'll be the coaching point this week.
We saw last week, I think we mentioned this earlier, you handled, I thought, the weather conditions pretty well. It's supposed to be really cold Saturday. The last forecast I saw, wind chill maybe around 12, 15 degrees. Mm-hmm. I don't know if that changes the game plan, but I know it makes a football really hard to kick when it gets that hard. Does that maybe change what you can do from a field goal standpoint?
Probably not, because, they give them, their own footballs to go kick. So it's not like the ball's been sitting out in the rain or the snow. And usually those guys are huddled up near a heater before they take the field. So I wouldn't anticipate the weather being a factor too
kickers
much.
Always know where the heaters are. I've noticed that. Those are the guys, those guys and the guys that come from the South, man, they are going to find whether there's heated bench or portable heaters on there.
They will flock to the warmth for sure.
As long as you stay warm, that's all that counts. All right, we'll have one more segment with the coach. Coach Walters will be back after this. This is Purdue Football Live, presented by Purdue Federal Credit Union on the Purdue Global Sports Network from Learfield.
Anderson and Hudson, the only two Boilermakers hitting in positive numbers currently. And Hudson with the solo block at the net. Back-to-back kills.
Blocks per set on the season.
To Hudson. This time the Trojans are able to keep it up. A nice tap there. Chicoine out of the back row, a response. The Trojans keep it alive. Back and forth we go. Hudson. Eva Hudson with the finisher.
The 2024 Purdue football season is presented by Purdue Global. Earn a degree you'll be proud of with Purdue Global, Purdue's online university for working adults and the preferred online university degree provider of the Guild and Team USA Learning Network. Start your comeback today at purdueglobal.edu. No matter the outcome of Saturday's game, you've got the offseason coming up. What's job one after Saturday to get ready for the 2025 season?
Job one is meetings with your current roster. Obviously, revenue share is in effect starting in July, and so player retention is going to be the most important piece of the plan during the offseason.
Yeah, roster construction is so important and also so difficult to do in these days of the portal. Do you have a pretty good sense right now, or a sense of what you might be losing and what you might need to bring in for 2025?
Yeah, we've got a pretty detailed spreadsheet on players that we want back and players that might move on, and what we need to target from a roster standpoint, a position standpoint, both in the portal and in high school ranks.
We've talked in the last few weeks about the fact that you brought a lot of guys in the portal last year that have extended eligibility left. Is that still the plan going forward? Are you looking for more one-year guys, or what would be your plan there?
Yeah, we had to take multi-year transfers because our roster was so depleted a year ago just to fill classes within the certain positions. I feel pretty confident and comfortable with how our depth is spread out from a eligibility standpoint. Mm-hmm. And so now we're going to attack specific needs.
As you look at then, my next question was going to be, are there specific positions on this football team where we're going to need a few more guys at this spot than maybe this spot?
Yeah, for sure. You'd think just off the top of my head, linebacker position, we're gonna need some older guys there. We lose some older offensive linemen, and I really like the guys that we have in our two deep on the O-line. But we also have a young two deep, and so we got to generate and create some competition there as well.
Ryan, I know, again, we've talked that it's been a disappointing season from a win-loss standpoint, but I think as fans could see on Friday night, there's still a lot of fight left in this team, and the fact that they were able to hang in a difficult situation has to make you feel good about not just the way the season can finish, but also about what's ahead for 2025 and beyond.
Yeah, absolutely. Like nobody likes the win-loss column, right? Like that has been very frustrating, but when you look at sort of the team's improvement over the course of the season, with the amount of young guys that we're playing and the type of competition that we're playing against, it gets you excited and confident going into next season with these guys another year under their belt, another year more mature, another year in the strength and conditioning program, and being experienced and learning from the trials and tribulations that we've gone through this year. Like that's what gets me excited.
And it is a difficult schedule next year, but we know it's not going to be any worse than 2024. I mean, having 4 out of the five top teams in the country in the last half of your schedule, I don't think I've ever seen that before.
That's because it's never been done before.
Well, there you go. That's why. Yeah. Again, with the bucket game coming up, any memories that you have in rivalry games that you played in or coached in, anything that stands out as, hey, that's something I'll never forget walking off the field?
Yeah, those Nebraska games were always fun to play in, and I grew up watching Colorado, right, because my dad played there, and so those were always red letter games and games that you highlighted, and I think when I was at Oklahoma, the Red River rivalry was a fun environment, but those two probably were the most memorable rivalry games.
From what you've seen, either as a player or as a coach, does there tend to be any more talking down in the field between the players or by play? Is there a little bit more yapping going on in these games?
Absolutely. Like there were times where, like, my goal was to make somebody on the team want to fight me after the game with how much jawing we were doing during the course of the game. So.
Well, I know the old Oaken Bucket has a nice place right now in the football performance complex to see if we can keep it here. Good luck this Saturday against the Hoosiers, and let's end this 2024 campaign on a positive note.
That's the plan, man. Boiler up.
All right. We'll have our final segment of Purdue Football Live presented by Purdue Federal Credit Union after this on the Purdue Global Sports Network from Learfield.
Oh, yeah, coach is a competitor. Also, when you played at the Division I level, you're not scared to go anywhere. I heard him earlier this week. Each court is the same length. Each rim is the same width.
And the foul. Kaufman-Wren able to finish at the basket.
Strong and has the ability to go up and finish over any defender in the country.
Smith trap, kicks the ball back out. Kaufman-Wren wants the ball in the
Good
post.
pass.
What a pass! And the finish from Raleigh Burgess. Finish at the basket.
Trey Kaufman-Wren understands when it's one-on-one, score the ball. But when you have that double team, you're always going to have your partner cutting to the basket.
Purdue Football Live is presented by Purdue Federal Credit Union, the official credit union for Purdue fans. We're in that crossover time. We've got football and basketball, so let's run down the schedule for this week. Boilermaker men's basketball team will be in San Diego at a holiday tournament taking on North Carolina State on Thanksgiving Day. That game will tip off at 3 o'clock Eastern time, so our pregame coverage starts at 2, and then Purdue will play again on Friday. The start time of that, depending on how they do on Thursday. Saturday, the Boilermakers play for the Old Oaken Bucket. Down in Bloomington, it'll be a 6 o'clock pregame show, 7 o'clock kickoff from Memorial Stadium. And then next Monday night, we'll be back at Walk-Ons for Purdue Basketball Live. That one will be at 6:30. Want to thank everybody involved with the show tonight. It's our engineer, Wes Scott, and our video producer today is Gavin Murray. Again, the Boilermakers and the Indiana Hoosiers. Purdue has won the last 3 bucket games, trying to make it 4 wins in a row and keep the bucket where it belongs, right here in West Lafayette. We look forward to talking to you then. Thanks to Ryan Walters, Kevin Kane, and Jason Simmons for being with us. For them, this is Tim Newton, and thanks to you for listening and watching tonight. You've been listening to Purdue Football Live on the Purdue Global Sports Network from Learfield. Good night, everybody.
Here we go.